It's flu season. I've been sick many times this cold and flu season, and I realized I should have been taking my Groons.
You need your Groons. Where are your Groons at? You're not taking your Groons?
There are just so many different supplements everywhere. A lot of them are like filled with misinformation. A lot of them have empty claims, and that's why Groons took the time to carefully design a formula that ensures proper dosing for optimal nutrition that's both safe and effective. It's a convenient, comprehensive formula. So if you're taking a lot of supplements a day, just know this isn't a multivitamin. It's not a greens gummy. It's not a prebiotic. It's all of those things and then some at a fraction of the price. And it tastes great.
It's flu season, so grab your Groons. It's compact, portable. You can maintain your healthy habits no matter where you are across the world, right? On your traveling, you gotta stay healthy. Grab your Groons. 8 gummies in each daily snack pack because you can't fit the amount of nutrients into just one gummy. Plus, it's a fun treat. They're vegan, nut-free, gluten-free, dairy-free with no artificial colors or flavors.
Groons ingredients are backed by over 35,000 research publications, and the ingredients in Groons can yield a 41% increase in healthy gut bacteria, a 53% reduction in risk of mild cognitive impairment, a 75% reduction in immunity-damaging free radicals, and 91% thicker hair and nails, plus improved skin. You wanted a supplement you could enjoy. This isn't a chore. It's something you look forward to. Get up to 45% off. Visit groons.co and use code WHO.
You will dream it.
Yo, they wanna know.
Hey,
Mia.
hey,
Mia.
Come on.
hey. I want to be famous.
Welcome to Who Weekly, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know about the celebrities you don't. I'm Bobby Finger.
I'm Lindsay Weber.
Huge breaking news. I hope you haven't seen it since you've woken up.
What? Well, the only thing I saw since I woke up was like depressing news. So what?
Andrew Shue, Mary Lee Feibig are living together after Amy Robach, TJ Holmes scandal.
Wait, they moved in together?
A source exclusively reveals to Us Weekly, quote, they have moved in together. It's not revenge, it's real. They're doing great and they're very much in love.
That's wild.
I can't believe both Shania Twain sides of this equation have now like entered into committed relationships.
That's crazy. It's not revenge. It's real. It helps with the kid situation, gotta say.
It does. The source is like really word vomiting. Quote, marriage is a big step. They're cautious and careful because they got hurt last time. It's more important for them to just be in love, live together, travel, and enjoy each other. And then Us Weekly's editorializing says, the same can't be said for their respective former spouses. Amy still believes in marriage and wants to get married to TJ. She kind of wants that commitment from him. But you know, TJ doesn't really want to get married again. Amy does. We listened to their podcast enough to know that.
But maybe if TJ's ex is like getting back and moving in with her ex, maybe he'll be, you know, like more encouraged.
Amy's needling him now like, oh my God, Andrew and Mary Lee are together.
I mean, this is a perfect story. And I always wonder when I see headlines about TJ and Amy, I'm like, are we really still on this? Like, we have to move on from this tale.
I see them and I think, thank God we're still on this.
It's too perfect. We can never move on. And you know what? And I hope every day the executive that fired them at GMA sees these headlines and hits themselves. They're so stupid for that. They're so fucking stupid for that.
One thing I love most of all is that how often do we talk about celebrities who start podcasts and then give up? They're still releasing Morning Run every single goddamn morning at like 3 a.m.
But Bobby, what else do they have? What else are they doing? This is it for them.
Every single morning.
Not only are they releasing Morning Run every day, they have spin-offs. They're just going outside. Did you see the new art for Morning Run?
Oh, yeah, it's really sexy.
It's very sexy.
It's really sexy.
And they're not even wearing their running clothes. They're just like this could be you if you kept us on GMA. Like, we're looking so chic.
They look so good.
No, I love it. Incredible. And even the reviews are in, and the reviews are keep it up. I listen every morning, and yuck, mindless drivel from 2 narcissists. So honestly, if you're getting those 2 sides of podcast reviews, I think it means you're on the right track. You are on the right track.
These could be our reviews, you know? 5 stars, keep it up, and 1 star, yuck, mindless drivel from 2 narcissists.
You are narcissists, yeah.
Okay, you're listening to Who's There, a weekly call and show where we take your questions, comments, and concerns at 619 Who Them.
You're listening to Who's There, mindless drivel between 2 narcissists.
Here's the first comment, an only comment, I think. Here we go.
Hey, all. So this is a thought that I never would have had if I was not a longtime listener.
but there's this news item that's been making the rounds, some interview that Angela Bassett did, where she talks about being disappointed when she lost the Oscar to Jamie Lee Curtis. And she uses the word interesting in it twice. She says, I found it interesting that I wouldn't be allowed to be disappointed at an outcome where I thought I was deserving. And Bobby in particular knows where I'm already going with this. I'm sure, or fairly sure, he already went there himself. But do we think that she is referencing the quote that I know that he is obsessed with? What interests me from Contact? Please discuss. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, she's absolutely referencing it. I found it interesting that I wouldn't be allowed to be disappointed at an outcome that I thought was deserving.
The fact that it recorded static isn't what interests me. What interests me is that it recorded approximately 18 hours of it.
A, yes, I think she's quoting Contact, one of the greatest quotes of all time, from one of the best movies of all time. And B, who wouldn't be pissed off if Jamie Lee Curtis won over you for like one of the most horrible nominated performances of all time? She has every right to be mad.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
One of the worst Oscar-nominated performances of my lifetime.
Yes and no and yes and yes and yes. 100% yes. 100%
What interests me, to quote Angela Bassett, quoting Angela Bassett in Contact, is that I saw this quote going viral before I read the whole thing. But when I read the whole thing, I realized that one of her best friends is Marianne Jean-Baptiste. And Marianne Jean-Baptiste is in this piece almost as much as Angela Bassett is. She's quoted a million times. She's like the primary secondary.
They're best friends.
They're best friends. They refer to each other as best friends.
Well, Angela has taste. So she's friends with the legends. She's friends with the talent.
What interests me is that her best friend also was snubbed by the Oscars this year. But anyway, great call. Yes, I think she was quoting that. It's a great excuse to play one of our favorite clips on the show. Second to hello, which I have to put in here.
Second to hello.
Hello? Are you bitch? They're taking their underwear off in the jacuzzi. Are you dumb? Hello?
Which every time you say it, you have to put the clip in
Well,
it because
I
that
was-
one caller.
I was
I can't
listening
hear
to-
you say I'm hello without.
I was listening
I
to an
put it in.
episode you edited, just like
Yeah.
puttering around my house, and we brought up Angelina hello, and I was like, I hope Lindsay put it in, and then you dropped it, and I was like, okay, good.
Well, hello is now in the same folder as our theme song and the Rita song, so it's almost become it's a sound effect that is now canon to the show. It's alongside the crunch crunch girl and the sound effect that means correct answer. Like it's in the folder for me. I don't know if it's in your. For me, it's in my folder with all my other sounds, my classic sounds.
I need to add what interests me to that same folder, so it's easily accessible.
Okay.
Because what interests me is that it's not there now. So
let's get into it.
Oh, there's so much to get into. I hate this. I hate how many times I've listened to this episode of Pod Meets World.
Boy Meets World's Danielle Fishel and Maitland Ward reignite feud during intense argument. During Maitland Ward's appearance, she and Danielle rehashed their decades-long feud. Why have Danielle Fishel and Maitland Ward been feuding for decades? I don't want to scroll. Crunch, crunch.
Hey, Lindsay, Bobby, to me. I have a news update in the world of celebrities saying too much on podcasts. And it's this week's episode of Pod Meets World with Maitland Ward. It's wild what they talk about. The whole episode's good, but you can fast forward to like an hour and 5 minutes in to get to the juiciest gossip about whether everybody who was on that show secretly hates each other. Hope you like it. Crunch, crunch. Bye.
Topanga and Rachel are feuding on a podcast, like yesterday. Crunch, crunch.
The Boy Meets World cast are fighting on Pod Meets World.
You have to admit, you have to give props for them for leaving this in at all, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things where
You can't believe what you're listening to.
no one is getting caught. They could have cut it. This is not live. They could have been like, cut the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there is kind of, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, oops, we got him. We got the real tea. But it's kind of like, they're really in control here. They're leaving it on purpose for us to hear. So I just want to make that clear. Like, that's important.
What interests me about this really quickly is not only do they leave in the stuff that's like juicy, they leave in like weird blips in production so that it ramps up the tension.
So you're saying they're leaving in even stuff that you might even cut out because there's just literally mistakes and like blips and blops and like, oh, the power went out, or like, oh, like the
literally the power goes out,
whatever.
They're like, oh, Maitland left the Zoom, she's out of the Zoom, and then it like cuts to commercial, and then it comes back and Maitland's like, my power went out, I'm back. Let's keep talking.
And almost every single time
Wow. She's dropped out.
Well, Maitland's left.
I mean, for benefit of the doubt, we will wait here.
Yeah, we'll wait a few minutes and see if she's going to come
might
back.
not be intentional.
He did seem frozen.
Hold on a second. You guys,
there you are.
My power just went out, like for flashing. Really weird.
Look, to catch you up, what's going on here? There is a Boy Meets World podcast that is relatively popular. Bobby hates being Boy Meets World, so he is like very anti this.
I've hated Boy Meets World since I was 10 years old.
But I also don't listen to this, so it's like I liked Boy Meets World and I liked Girl Meets World. That's why I'm a Sabrina Carpenter stan from way back. But that's beside the point. She's not involved in any of this shit. So they have a Boy Meets World podcast. The hosts of the podcast are Topanga, Danielle Fishel, and I believe Sean.
Ryder Strong, Will Friedle, and Danielle Fishel.
Got it.
Fishel.
Okay. So it's three of the main people, but it's not the main boy in the Boy Meets World. Ben Savage is not involved in this, famously not involved in this podcast. It's come up a lot that he doesn't do it.
And they talk shit about Ben Savage repeatedly in this episode. So I think that they must talk shit about him all the time.
I think that they kind of are like, I actually really think they're kind of resentful of the fact that he won't do the podcast. Like, I think that they're like, everybody is doing this. It's like a really good moneymaker for us as these kind of like washed up TV stars. And like, I can't believe you won't do it. I can't believe you'd rather run for government and lose a million times, which like is what he is doing. Okay. So they have this. So then there's one of the actors from the show, Maitland Ward, is kind of their loose cannon girly, right? And she's not even like, she wasn't even like a main cast member. She kind of...
The show lasted 7 seasons and she was only on them for 2. She met them in college in the canon of the show.
And now she's kind of this like outlandish star. I think she did pornography. She does OnlyFans. She does her own talking head stuff, her own commentary or whatever. Like, she's out there, right?
She wrote a book.
And I will say, I think there is something about that kind of not gelling with the kind of legacy of this perfect children's show. Just my guess. Not that they're like judging her, not like that, but there's something about it kind of being like, we're trying to have a fun PG time and you're being kind of kooky.
Well, that's what she thinks. Danielle would disagree.
Basically, what happens is this her going on the show for their show for the first time?
Yes, because it's a rewatch podcast, so they're talking about the episodes episode by episode. They're still not finished. The show's only been on for like 3 years, so they're working their way through like over 100.
There is kind of a feud. I feel like they've maybe talked shit about each other in the, like, not to each other's face, but behind each other's back / like to the press before. So now finally they're quote unquote meeting on this podcast.
For her first episode. So like they're currently into season 6 of the show. There were only 7. Maitland didn't show up until season 6. And so they have her on in this organic moment. And the conversation, I didn't listen to the first like 30 minutes because everyone said like, oh, it starts an hour in. I'm not listening to the full 2 hours of this. But I did start like 30 minutes in to hear things being pleasant before they turn at around the hour 6 minute mark. And they are quite pleasant. They're totally pleasant. And then at some point, again, I think I put the timestamps in here. At some point at an hour 8, Danielle's talking about Maitland. And she's like, anyway, do you hate us? And Maitland says, no, I thought you hate me.
Jumping ahead to around the time, let's say 2022, when we start our podcast, Pod Meets World. Maybe a more broad, general question for you is, do you hate us?
No, I don't hate you.
Okay.
I don't hate you. I think that you hate me because you wouldn't speak to me on when we would go to Girl Meets World and everything.
And then what follows is about 1 hour 50 minutes of tension, of like real intense tension, where they complain about very not boomery stuff, but almost boomery stuff. So much of this is predicated on a Facebook message that went unanswered because Danielle claims it was in her garbage folder.
And when you went public and said that you had sent me a message,
I did send you a
on Facebook around the time that I got married the first time,
Yes, I
in
did.
2013.
Yes.
You sent it to Will. You told Will, I sent Danielle this message.
Yes.
She didn't respond to me. So when I heard that, I said, oh my gosh, did not know that. I then went into my Facebook page, saw that we were not friends, was like, didn't remember when we were friends on Facebook or when we were no longer friends on Facebook, found your message in like the graveyard of messages that your messages go to. And I then felt very bad. I felt like, oh man, you did send me a really nice message. You had said, congratulations on your engagement. Congratulations on Girl Meets World. It was very sweet. And so I said to Will, will you please ask Maitland if I could have her phone number so that I could apologize to her?
It is crazy because Maitland's like, you guys hate Ben.
Yeah.
Like, that's the craziest
And they
thing.
hate
Is, like,
Michael.
she's like, oh, if I hate you, well, why don't you own up about hating Ben Savage, like the star of your show? That's
Yes.
too real. That's what I would cut out. You know, the other funny thing too is like Maitland's kind of a TMZ favorite too. So she's always kind of getting set up by TMZ in a way that maybe, and set up implies that she doesn't want to be set up, but I think that that it's positive, like for both parties. Like I think TMZ is really kind of like helping push this shit along on Maitland's side.
And that's what Danielle says too. Danielle's like, why do you always go to run to TMZ instead of responding to me? And Maitland's like, I don't run to TMZ. They just run into me outside. And Danielle's like,
That's crazy.
No, TMZ's never run into me randomly outside. Like, I think you're calling them.
TMZ does not run into you when you're like at Pilates. No, absolutely not. No, not like that.
The tension is basically like, Maitland implies that Danielle doesn't like her because of her work in adult films, right? She's like, you do porn, you pose nude, you do all the shit that I don't do, and I don't like you. At least that's what Maitland thinks. And then Danielle is like, I don't believe that at all.
Well, I think there's kind of this thing where Danielle's like, I could have done those things.
Exactly. She was like, I was on the cover of Maxim in 2014. I didn't like being sexy publicly. You do, and I have no issue with that. Maitland just keeps pushing back and saying that that's not true. And the Facebook message that she missed, they're like, they weren't friends after the show ended. Again, in the year 2000, after 2 seasons together, they are not friends after that. They do not like continue hanging out. And then when Maitland gets married in 2006, she invites Danielle Fishel to the wedding. And Danielle is surprised to get the invite because she's like, I didn't think we were friends, but she's happy to go. She goes. When Danielle gets married, she does not invite Maitland. And Maitland sends her a friendly text message, a friendly message on Facebook that does not get responded to. And she confronts her about that. And Danielle is like, I didn't see it for years because it was in my Facebook like garbage folder. And when I saw the message, it was in fact really nice, but I don't have your number. And I know you're friends with Will Friedle. So I texted Will and I said, hey, can I have Maitland's number? Let's chat. You should be on the podcast. And Maitland, according to Danielle, it was Maitland's idea. I don't want to hash this out until we're on the podcast because it would make for a good show.
And you wrote back to Will, no, let's just save it for the podcast. It'll be great for the ratings.
Not the ratings. I think we should
okay.
talk it out on the podcast. Because
Okay.
it's something to talk about, you know.
I believe the official quote was rock the stats.
And so that's what's happening now. So Danielle is basically like, all of this was your idea. We could have hashed this out years ago, but you wanted to wait until we did it on mic. And I think that explains why they didn't even edit it out.
Okay, but here's my question. This is Danielle's podcast, not Maitland's podcast. So what does Maitland have to, I guess she has to gain just press in general, which is good
what
for
Danielle
her.
keeps saying.
But the ad dollars, the attention, the show whose it is Danielle's show, not Maitland's show. I guess Maitland doesn't have a show, but I'm saying like that is a little bit interesting to me to accuse Maitland of being like, you did this for press when it's like it's on your show, like it's on your podcast.
Yes. And also Danielle is resentful of the fact that it's like, you said you wanted to save it for the podcast, and yet you spent all this time going to the press and writing about how I didn't want to talk to you when I offered to talk to you, but it's your idea to wait until you're on the podcast. But because the podcast is going chronologically, it took 3 years of the podcast to even get to this moment. So it's like, it's your fault that we waited this long to get here. We could have done this earlier. The crux of their feud is weirdly Girl Meets World. Maitland Ward was not on that show, but she visited the set once, and apparently Danielle Fishel was like cold towards her and just said hi and didn't take any photos. It's the dumbest feud possible. It wasn't like, you called me a cunt and I'll never forget it, or you cheated on your boyfriend with my boyfriend. Like, there was none of that.
But then there's also kind of this thing where it's like, I was the new girl on the show and she was like protective over her place as like the girl on the show. Like, it goes all the way back to the original show itself, right? Like, they kind of brought her in as like a little bit of a bombshell on the show too. Like, it does make sense. You know, there's so many. This show is kind of dark.
I mean, I know it's the point of a rewatch podcast to like dig up old dirt, but it really is blowing my mind that they're still complaining about this specific 2-year period of their lives when they worked together on a television show.
I mean, they have a podcast all about it. I mean, but also it's like, don't even get started on like Trina McGee. Like, there's so many other kind of like dark-sided kind of like actor situations. I don't know. I think what's funny, actually, I think these rewatch podcasts, it like can go one of two ways. It can be just like really positive. Everyone's like really excited to watch the show again. There's enough time between the show airing and now, and you feel like you've really moved on and done your own thing, and it's totally cool and it's heartwarming and whatever. Or it can be like, oh no, we really haven't moved on from this. Our careers like kind of didn't get better. Like, we're still only known for this character and we resent it. And what we're doing is like this last case scenario to make money, even though we kind of don't even want to dwell in this show that kind of took years of our childhood and defined us, put us in a box, especially for Danielle, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
She did act other than this character, but this is the character who she is known for, like number one. Yeah.
And do you remember this feud, when the feud began, when Maitland Ward was first like, Danielle Fishel doesn't like me and stopped talking to me? She was telling the same story in 2022, which was that she assumed that it was because she was doing like adult film work, that when she ran into her on the set of Girl Meets World, Danielle Fishel was cold and just said hi to her, and that's it. So she's been telling the story for many years, and I think Danielle has wanted to hash it out for a while, but Maitland said, I don't want to do it until it's time to talk about it on the podcast. So because of that, Maitland has had 3-ish years to keep repeating this story over and over again to TMZ, to Us Weekly, to whoever she can find. And the crazy thing is, now that I played all these clips, they get into fights about TMZ repeatedly. And Danielle is like, why do you always go to TMZ? And she's like, I don't go to TMZ. TMZ comes to me. And Danielle's like, I don't believe that.
Almost any time the podcast is in the news, in the press, there's a quickly followed up TMZ interview with you.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's interested. Yeah, they always want to know.
How do those happen, by the way?
Because they come and get me. They find me on the streets.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know if I've ever been found on the street.
Are you trying to accuse me of something? Because
No, I'm just wondering. Because they've never stopped me outside of my house, or never stopped me.
They're not stopping me outside of my house.
Okay. I don't know where they're stopping you. I was just wondering.
But also, that's irrelevant. And there's no way that TMZ comes to her.
No, there's no way. But she tells Danielle that there is. And so right after this episode aired, or a few hours, guess what you get on TMZ? Maitland Ward. Danielle set me up for Podcast Clash, but I've got no ill will. And so she keeps saying, I don't have any ill will, but she's basically like, I hate that bitch.
Right, no, truly. She felt trapped.
Yes. This is also the sort of thing where it's like, she clearly, seemingly, went straight to TMZ with this.
Right.
And if they did go to her, they only went to her because they know that she's receptive, because she's always going to them.
Right.
The comments are kind of predictably on the side of Danielle, because Danielle essentially predicts this on the show. She's like, you go to them all the time instead of actually wanting to talk stuff through with me.
Right, she proves them right.
So all the comments are like, Danielle was right, Danielle was right, Danielle was right.
Well, maybe they should have invited her to be on the recap podcast in the first place. Then she wouldn't have to go to TMZ for promotion.
But the recap podcast doesn't work until you get to season 6 where Maitland Ward is. That's the other thing that's driving me crazy. It's like, Maitland didn't even show up until 6 seasons into this show. So she didn't make sense on the recap podcast until we're hundreds of episodes in.
And all they really want is Ben Savage back on that goddamn show. They want Ben Savage so bad. They want him so bad.
They mention over and over again, like, Ben doesn't want anything to do with us. Ben and Michael. And I think Michael is the executive producer. I think they mean
he's like the creator.
Michael
the creator
Jacobs.
of the show.
There was like Ben and Michael.
Kind of funny about a recap show that is so kind of dismissed by its creator and star. Like they are, and I will say, like, whatever the feud is between Maitland and Topanga. Oh my God, Maitland and Danielle. The real interesting thing about this is a generation of recap podcasts that are kind of the secondary-ish actors who resent the stars and creators of the shows for not wanting to dwell in their past work because they don't have to.
Such as How Rude Tanneritos with Jodie Sweetin and Andrea Barber, which, by the way, is still releasing new episodes. They're only on season 4.
No way.
They're only on season 4. That's it.
Right.
It's
like,
still happening.
Not all of us can be office women, you know, like that feels like a very kind of the most accepting of its thing, even though it is missing a lot of she's one of the stars, I guess.
But I think Fuller, I think there's so many cooks in the kitchen on Pod Meets World because it's 3 of them. I think once Andrea Barber and Jodie Sweetin finish the recap of the show, of the series, which is going to take a couple more years, I think they have a rapport that mirrors The Office Ladies, because The Office Ladies finished the recap of the show and then they just became a show about 2 girlies
right
talking.
You think they'll just be a show with 2 women who were once on a show together. I mean, not every recap show can be It's Always Sunny where it's all the guys and
which stopped making new episodes.
Really, yeah, they were like, we don't have time for this anymore, and which makes sense.
I love
and
that show when they stopped making new episodes.
Well, it's because they literally shouldn't have been making a show in the first place because they don't have time, because they're actually all working. That's the thing. It's like, if you aren't working and you have time and you make the show, you can do it. If you're the star of the show and you went on to do bigger things and you don't have time to recap an old TV show you were once on, nor do you need to do it.
Yeah. God, I can't believe I'm going to have to go through this episode again and then clip it because I've already listened to it twice.
You don't have to clip everything. You have all the timestamps here. Let's move on. Next call.
I want to be famous.
Bobby, are you tired of figuring out what's for dinner night after night, especially on those busy weekdays?
You better believe it.
Get dinner done the easy way, thanks to HelloFresh.
I will. They sent us another box and I'm loving it. I did the all veggie one.
With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh's new ready-made meals go from the fridge to your fork in just 3 minutes. It's the same high-quality ingredients, restaurant-worthy flavor you expect from HelloFresh, just with none of the work. Oh my God, they have meals where you don't have to do anything? That's iconic.
Yeah, they have those now too.
They have 15-minute meals that are done in just 3 simple steps. You can eat better this year without the hassle. You save valuable time and fewer trips to the grocery store. Thanks to HelloFresh Market, you can get on like add-on items to your order, like eggs or like whatever you need.
HelloFresh, they're evolving.
Since we last did the ad, they're evolving. And look at these great meals that they have. I'm kind of like, my mouth is watering when I'm looking at hot honey Brussels and ricotta flatbreads. I'm looking at pasta primavera. What are you looking at?
Black bean and green pepper flautas. I'm excited for this one to be in my box this week. Black bean and green pepper flautas. And there's a pasta dish that has butternut squash and kale in it. And I'm like, I'm in.
Get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/HelloFreshPodcast.
Hello, Hooligans. We want to introduce you to a new podcast called Campus Files. It's a weekly series that dives into some of the wildest scandals that have taken place within American colleges and universities. We know colleges attract some of America's brightest minds, so why do the most absurd things happen there? From rigged admissions to sports scandals to Greek life drama, Campus Files exposes the stories you won't hear on the campus tours. Listen to and follow Campus Files, an Odyssey original podcast, available now on the free Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcasts. This has to talk about being stuck indoors with your cat this time of year. I'm like, when am I not stuck indoors with my cat? I see my cat all the time. I feel like I'm in prison with my cat. That's part of what it is to own a cat, right?
Well, they're saying it's cold out, so they're saying you're not able to like open as many windows to get the stink out.
Well, I don't have this problem, Ad, because I use Pretty Litter.
Well, that's what they're trying to say.
It's hard for someone who's doing an ad for Pretty Litter, who uses Pretty Litter, to give personal experience that's dramatic. Because I've been using Pretty Litter for so long, I don't even remember what it was like when my apartment smelled like cat pee. You know, like, it's just been such a life changer and a game changer for me that, like, I don't know the before times.
You don't remember a time before Pretty Litter?
No. I don't remember BPL. But I do know that Pretty Litter is low dust, so it's not tracking around the cat, it's not tracking around kitty litter everywhere. The color crystals change colors to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in the cat, like UTIs and kidney issues. It traps odor, it traps moisture, it's easy to scoop, and 1 6-pound bag works for up to a month. And because it gets shipped right to my door, I don't have to go to the pet store all the time and lug everything back and forth from like 3 blocks away to my apartment, from 3 blocks away to my apartment. So I'm going to end this with saying, indoor cats and indoor humans agree, Pretty Litter helps my house smell fresh and clean. So go to prettylitter.com/who to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/who to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/who. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
I want to be famous.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. I think there's a new doll on the scene. This new kid in the new Amazon, like, My Fault remake, Matthew Broome. He's also on an Apple TV show that me and 6 other people watch, Buccaneers. He's giving the new, like, Nicholas Galatzine. But I think he might be the new doll. Do we know him? Do we have any info? Something to just keep an eye on. Crunch, crunch.
Okay, so I had never heard of this show or movie. This movie. It's called My Fault: London, which is so random of a name.
Which is a remake of a Spanish movie, which is a adaptation of a Wattpad like fan fiction.
And
story.
It's Brady Bunch style. Step siblings fall in love, or step siblings want to fuck.
Yes,
they want to fuck. Okay,
so it was a romance story that was published online that I think is now available like as a real book, but it was hugely popular. They make it into like a Spanish movie, then they remake it as My Fault London, so it's set in like an English.
My Fault London. My Fault: London.
My Fault: London. And it's like, what if step siblings were sexy and wanted to fuck each other? That's like essentially what the movie is.
I mean, it's giving trope. So, okay. So I think you're a little bit early on the jump for this call. You're like, who is this guy? It's like this is his like the second thing he's really been in. So it's a little bit early, but I will say because it is giving Nicholas Galatzine, if only because when he was in Red, White, and Royal Blue, he had done stuff before, but it was the first thing that got people in this like in the like sexy movie fandom community to absolutely lose their mind and go crazy like over him and like who he was. And I think this guy Matthew Broome is already getting that treatment because if you look him up, it's like he's already being accused of cheating, like, and with his co-star on his girlfriend, and it's like in a way where it's like, oh, you're really enjoying this movie a little bit too much. Like you think they're in love, or you're convinced that they are in love and dating, but he's just kind of sitting pretty with like under 1 million followers, being like, can't wait for the next thing. What's the next thing?
What we have with this guy Matthew Broome, who is English, is similar to Nicholas Galatzine in that the thing that's making him really pop is like a sexy romance adaptation, and that's what it took for Nicholas Galatzine, because Nicholas Galatzine did a lot of random work before he did his sexy Red, White, and Royal Blue, and then that took him to the stratosphere. So this guy did it first. Stratosphere, who am I kidding?
He had done romancy things before because he did that like army sexy movie with Sophia Carson,
Purple
I think.
Hearts.
But yes, but Red, White, and Royal Blue was like a phenomenon. I mean, it's beyond a phenomenon of a kind of a movie. And then he did it kind of again with I want to call it My Body, My Choice. What's it called?
The Idea of You?
Yeah, I don't know why.
I'm sorry. You wanted to call the movie where Anne Hathaway fucks the younger guy My Body, My Choice? That's a fun title.
Yeah, for something like that. It would be so funny, right?
My Body, My Choice. You're like, oh, what's that movie about? Oh, not what I thought.
Well, it is her choice to fuck the pop star or whatever.
That's a good
It is her
movie.
choice.
Oh, what a good movie.
I agree. And I thought Red, White, and Royal Blue was like way better than it had to be as well. Like it excels. My Fault: London, I'll take your word for it. You know, like I'm not sure I'll be tuning in, but I believe you. He was in the show The Buccaneers, which I did watch and forget every single second of, which I think I enjoyed it at the time, but I could not tell you what happened in it 1 minute of that.
In the doc, there's a part where Lindsay writes, I don't know who this guy is. And Timmy was like, he's in a show you watched and liked.
I don't know if I don't remember him or the show at all. So that's so cool. What's funny is that he just really is kind of like an early in his career actor, sexy guy. They're really, even all of his interviews that he's done so far, which have been kind of like not these big interviews because it's really people who are smaller publications or whatever that are and websites that are noticing that he is a cutie in this romance movie.
Mm-hmm. He did do theater stuff, but he literally graduated like 2 years ago from theater school.
Right. So they're kind of like, what, like, how is it going? How's the chemistry between you and your co-star? They're obsessed with the chemistry between him and his co-star. Obsessed with the chemistry.
Aubrey Ibrag. And now you can tell that he's like really popping because we're getting TikToks and TikTok comments about how he's allegedly a cheater because he cheated on one of his co-stars with another one of his co-stars.
But it's like he did
you'll see
it.
things like
no
you'll see like sad fans being like, confirmed he's a cheater, and the confirmation is like a random TikTok comment, and you're like, I don't know that that's how confirmation works.
It's like, and she's been liking comments confirming that he cheated, and it's like, not really. But what's funny is it's like he was allegedly dating a girlie from the Buccaneers and then cheated on her with the girlie from the next thing, and it's like, that, I'm sorry, that's too fanficky. It's like his first interest and his first love interest and his second love interest, like, no, sorry, that can't be really happening.
Yeah, stay tuned. Lindsay's gonna be his #1 fan in like 6 months.
I'm not watching My Fault London. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
My Fault
do it.
London.
My Fault London.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby. Long time. This is Emma calling from Canada. And I know we are likely about to get annexed by the United States, but before that happens, I need you to talk about our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's son, Xavier Trudeau, who has released a debut R&B single. Please comment on this. I need to hear the American perspective. Good form, Bella Thorne. Crunch, crunch.
What? We're annexing Canada? Sorry, I'm like learning news from this call.
Trump wants to make it the 51st state.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just another one of his ideas. It's just because he likes Xavier Trudeau's music so much, he thinks we need to like assume them.
He heard Xavier Trudeau's new song, Till the Night's Done.
I was like, I gotta get a piece of that.
No, the funniest thing about Till the Night's Done is that it's missing an apostrophe.
It's missing an apostrophe. Till the night's done.
Nights is missing an apostrophe.
Till the night's done.
Till the night's done, and it's not, there's no, but it's got an apostrophe before till.
No, it doesn't have an apostrophe before till. That's just the styling that this headline used to not italicize
it. They're putting quotes around the song.
So it actually is missing 2 apostrophes.
It's missing both of its apostrophes.
It's missing both of its apostrophes.
That would be a better name for the song too. Missing 2 apostrophes.
Is this in the Star? There's like a website that actually puts sick in the title of the song because they know that it was spelled incorrectly.
We'll get there. The Toronto Star, somebody wrote an amazing, hilarious op-ed that it's like, don't make fun of him. He's providing welcome blandness in a time of cultural chaos. It's like his mediocrity is saving us from having to think about the terror that is our current times, which is a very interesting way to put it.
So he's Justin Trudeau's oldest child.
Yes, with Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, who he is now divorced from.
And they just divorced or announced their divorce in 2023. They have 3 kids together. He's the oldest one. I think we may have referenced him or at least retweeted a photo of him back when Barbie came out. Because the internet was sort of like, who's Justin Trudeau's son, when Justin Trudeau and his son went to go see Barbie together and wore pink at the theater. And they were like, we're on Team Barbie. I think we retweeted this.
He has 3 kids. Oh, one of his kids is named Hadrian, the gay ghost from Simon Cowell's house. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
If you name your kid Hadrian, you need to understand that comes a lot of baggage.
Xavier, Ella Grace, and Hadrian.
So Xavier, now known as Zav.
I love that nickname, Zav.
Me too. Zav is now busting out from the family tradition of being
Politics.
the president or whatever. Yeah. Although he hasn't done it, by releasing a song called Till the Night's Done. And I would say this song kind of doesn't, you can play a little bit of it here. There really is no central theme that would really remind you that this is the prime minister's son. It's just kind of a song that's very generic, sexy song. He's 17, so he's young.
Yeah.
This isn't like, oh, I'm an adult. He's still a child.
I'm the only one who knows how to make you feel. You got something I can grip on, I know you don't miss no. Get your man back home just tonight and I disappear. You know about me, I ain't like him. Yeah.
We're not getting the like lyrical revelations of a Nepo Baby performer like, Alabama Barker in this. It's very generic.
It is, but he's also around that age too. Like he's in their realm of being, this is a little bit undercooked in a way, you can tell. And it is because he is kind of undercooked.
There's another French Nepo Baby in the video for Till the Night Ends, again, misspelled.
Yeah, this was my research. I have to say, I'm very proud of myself. Found this located deep in the comments somewhere. True Heads did recognize Julie Snyder's daughter, Romy, not Romy Mars, Romy Snyder. Romy Peladeux Snyder, another kind of like French Canadian Nepo Baby. She plays the love interest. It's just kind of fun because he's just like doing this with his friends, You need to play the clip of him responding to the haters. This clip right here.
I'll play it again.
Bold it for you.
When he's like, I don't really read the comments.
I'm good at not reading comments.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the negative comments have to do with your dad as the prime minister. You have a more specific reaction to those specific kinds of comments?
If you have something against my dad, don't, there's not a lot of point bringing it to me.
I don't think we'll ever talk about this again, but I do want to shout out again this op-ed that explains why it's actually okay that he has this song. No one will ever remember Till the Night's Done sick next year or even next week. Musically, it is unremarkable, but as a cultural document, it is significant. A reminder that the drab ephemerality of Canadian culture can, in fact, be a bulwark against the dizzy extremism of American culture. Drag us. That the mundane is sometimes better than chaos. Personally, I'm cheering for Lil Zav. I agree. He's kind of just like, maybe we're putting out this bullshit over here, but at least we're not doing what's going on down there. And I'm like, so fair. I'm like, yes.
It's a fair assertion, yeah. It's
a fair assertion. When Barron Trump puts out his diss track against this loser, I'm kidding. But, okay.
Baron Trap X The Dare versus
Baron
Zav.
Trap is such a good name for him, Baron Trap.
Baron Trap. That
Lil
is a good
Zav
name.
And Baron Lil Zav and Baron Trap.
Hi, Who Weekly, long time. Who is Stephanie Suganami? I confessing I kind of know who she is because she's apparently Steph Shep, Kim Kardashian's ex-assistant. And when I saw the trailer for Opus, I was like, wait, is that Steph Shep? But no, it's not Steph Shep. It's Stephanie Suganami, who that's her IMDb. She has a couple credits, one from something called Something from Tiffany's, where she's credited as Stephanie Suganami, or Tiffany saleswoman as Steph Shep. I think it's interesting. Why is this lady getting a stage name when she has 2 million Instagram followers? It's confusing and very hooey. Crunch.
So what's funny is I remember talking about when Steph Shep quit the Kardashians, which is funny because the fact that we would even talk about a girly who worked as an assistant to the Kardashians quitting implies the kind of like importance we used to give the Kardashians and the people who worked around them and for them. You know what I mean? It just feels very dated even in that way, where now it's like I wouldn't even blink twice at somebody who works for the Kardashians. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? But there is this funny thing where at a certain point in culture, it was like not only are the Kardashians important, but everyone who works for them is a character in this world, right? This like thing that we're all watching or whatever. And Steph Shep was a big one because I feel like she kind of, people said she kind of outshone her boss.
She was great on TV.
Courtney.
Yeah.
She was great on TV. She was beautiful. She was kind of chic in a way that I feel like really caught people's eyes. And then when she quit, she was like, well, on to the next. Like, hey, I'm going to go do something else. And it's funny because it took a little while, but it's kind of come into fruition where she's actively acting.
She started working in like the C-suite for some like startup body wash brand. I think that's in here. Yeah. Called Plus. Because she worked for Kardashian West brands until 2018. Then she quit. Then she started her own thing. And it was sort of like, oh, you're going to become like an entrepreneur in the skincare space and the like wellness space. Because she was always like kind of, a boss bitch. That was kind of her vibe. But now she's pivoted or at least surprised people by saying, no, I actually want to start acting. And so a few years ago, she started acting in things. And she's in the new, very buzzy Sundance premiere A24 movie starring Io Adebri, Opus.
I would note also before we get into that, it doesn't hurt that she's married to an Apple Music executive too. Like she's like they've been married for a while. She's not starting from zero. She's like starting from 100 or whatever, you know? And also I would say, you know, Opus is a movie that was written and I believe directed by a guy that used to do like fashion stuff for GQ.
Yep, for GQ.
Like, they're
a big GQ editor.
It's a very aesthetically driven, hasn't gotten great reviews movie. Right? Isn't that kind of the...
That's true. Yeah, it hasn't gotten great reviews now.
The conversation. I guess I haven't seen it, but I've heard. So yeah, she's in this movie now, and she's been in stuff before this too, but obviously kind of on a smaller level.
She's like at least big enough in this movie to have her own poster.
There's a lot of though people in this movie who are getting kind of the cameo-ish treatment, like as if they have a cameo. You know what I mean? But they're in the movie.
Who are the other Kardashian adjacent sort of vamps that are still sort of making waves these days? I think it's kind of Scott Disick no longer, Chris Appleton still.
But Scott Disick doesn't count because he's like in the family.
Yeah.
Chris Appleton for sure. There's a lot of people that got their start.
Jonathan Cheban has sort of been MIA.
Yeah, well, he blocked us on Instagram, so that's why you feel like he's MIA.
That's true. That's actually very true.
But what he's like actively doing is like eating a slice of pizza the size of like a person in New York. You know, like that is what he's up to or whatever. But you're right. Who else too? There were so many like hairstylists and makeup artists that I feel like did.
Because even the Hawks are sort of not as much around these days.
Oh my God, where are the Hawks?
Where are the Hawks?
Where are the Hawks?
Like what's Malika Hawk up to? I'm sure she's still posting. We follow her on Instagram. Sometimes she pops up. But... oh, guess what Malika Hawk is up to? She was just on an episode of Khloe Kardashian's podcast.
Well, of course she was. Well, they're still good. They're good friends. There's also makeup by Mario. I do think a lot of them use the platform of being Kardashians, whatever, to really like jump into something significant. Like Makeup by Mario is like a pretty big brand. Like he sells a lot of makeup, and that's Kim's guy, right? Like same with Chris Appleton, right? Like he definitely is out there making his own news. There's also like Kylie's makeup artist, that guy Ariel. There's a lot of guys. Jen Atkin was also part of this world. Tracy Cunningham was also part of this world. Yeah, Patrick Ta vaguely early on was part of this world. A lot of them have already kind of like gone beyond or whatever. Yeah. But the question is, are there any other celebrities who would spin off vamps like the Kardashians did?
We don't really have those types of shows anymore that are that popular.
Or celebrities like that in terms of kind of having your makeup artist and hairstylist be so front and center.
The tides have turned on that type of reality show. Yeah.
Yeah. True. Or maybe it's also that like the issue with that show too was like because they were so famous, their only friends were the people that worked with them or for them. So that was why they were so featured, because they were their main friends.
Right. Which is why when you quit working for the Kardashians, you're also saying kind of, we're not going to be as close friends anymore.
Totally. Right. Because I'm like not going to sign an NDA to be your friend. Yeah. It's so depressing.
You don't just quit a job. You like quit a friendship.
Yeah. I also think Kim was like, I'm going to have 12 kids. So it's like, I don't really actually have time to have friends anymore unless they're my babysitters.
Well, that was sort of the thing about Steph Shep, who, again,
Right.
professionally, when she acts, is now going by Stephanie Suganami. The Steph Shep is, I think, over. When she stopped working for Kim Kardashian, like, in the press now, at least, they claim that her closest friend in that family is actually Kourtney. She worked as an assistant for other people before the Kardashians, but then when she got to the Kardashians, she really worked her way up.
Usually if you're a celebrity assistant, you take the route of celebrity assistant. Correct me if I'm wrong. You work as a celebrity assistant. You kind of work your way into, if that celebrity has any sort of production company that they do with like creative, you kind of like learn to work within that thing as well. Then you move from assistant, hopefully, into working for that production company. Then eventually you can leave that production company and work for like a different, bigger production company. And that's how you make your way kind of like, quote, into show business. A lot of assistants. I think that's like, I don't know if that's a route that is taken these days, but I think that was kind of traditionally at one point how you would, why you might be somebody's assistant.
Yeah, it was a foot in the door.
But it was a foot in the door to a specific pathway into working in production, like creative production. Yeah. But now I think you could work in as someone's assistant and then work for their brand and be like, oh, I'm actually more interested in like helping you with your entrepreneurship, because so many celebrity brands are so much more popular than they've ever been.
Did you recognize her when you saw her in Dr. Odyssey?
No.
In her one episode?
Not one iota did I recognize her. No.
I didn't recognize her when she was in something from Tiffany's, that really bad Amazon original movie with Zoe Deutsch, but, you know, she wasn't the star.
I mean, also Dr. Odyssey, it's kind of giving cameo. Sometimes if you see someone and they're like, why are they on this? It's like, it could just be a cameo. It doesn't, you're not assuming, oh, are they starting an acting career? You know?
Right.
Oh, she's starting an acting career? It's like, oh, okay.
Like when Kelsey Ballerini showed up, I didn't say, oh, she's starting an acting career, although I did think you are quite good in this.
Right, no, she was good. And my question is she starting an acting career?
You got to have it in your back pocket these days.
What, if you can act, like to check to see if you can act?
Yeah, you got to try.
You got to check. You got to check.
You got to check. It's like, who just checked recently? SZA. Like, SZA just checked. She checked recently in one of them days.
Yeah,
and it turns out she passed the test.
Yeah. And Kelsey Ballerini, she did pass the test, but I see nothing on the upcoming. I think she might have said, that's enough for me, sweetie.
Yeah.
I'm into music.
Maybe she just loves Margot Martindale, and who can blame her?
Yeah, they said you could act against Margot Martindale. She's like, well, then I'm going to learn how to act.
Hi, Who Weekly. I was wondering if you could explain the difference between Alix Earle and Alice Cooper. I feel like I keep seeing their names in the headlines with like Barstool and Unwell, and one of them was working for the other one's network or something. I can't keep it straight. The Alix Cooper and Alix Earle of it all is really throwing me for a loop. Would love your help keeping this straight. Thank you. Crunch, crunch, Tim Tebow lesbian.
I agree that this is getting confusing.
Well, you can't have two Alexes on the same network. You can't do it.
No, and that's why Alix Cooper dropped Alix Earle. Okay, can we call one Alix and one Alix? Or just we'll say like Earle and Cooper?
The best way to remember it is just by saying Alix Cooper, call her daddy.
Okay, and then the other one is Alix Earle. I think the issue is that we don't know a lot about Alix Earle, which I totally admit that I don't. I'd forgotten that she was a yapper. I thought she was just kind of a sexy girl because they think it's like that. Because I was wondering, like, oh, did they drop her podcast because she just doesn't have the juice? And I actually think they dropped her podcast because of this feud, not because of the juice, because I'd forgotten that she did start off by being a sexy girl yapper. Like she did kind of had this like addicting storytelling thing on TikTok that would necessitate a podcast or would inspire a podcast. So Alix Cooper is call her daddy girly, right? She's, at the top of her game currently. She launches a podcast, a network called Unwell, which is now within Sirius. She signed a deal with Sirius. So it's like not within Sirius, but it's part of Sirius. They're selling her ads. She's doing shows for them, whatever. They're like, your network can now sign other talent that you can produce. So she signs Grace O'Malley, who you might remember as kind of the disgraced former best, not disgraced, the rejected former best friend of chicken
Brianna LaPaglia.
Chicken Fry.
Chicken Fry. Brianna Chicken Fry.
Brianna Chicken Fry. Her podcast,
chickens.
Disgraceful, is now under Unwell Network. And as well as Harry Jousey, who's kind of that reality star that never goes away, but I like still kind of don't really get it. And Owen Teale, who, shout out to Owen Teale, is like the actor who is like Emma Carmichael. Emma Chamberlain. Shout out to Emma Carmichael. I always been Emma Chamberlain's best friend, and he now has a podcast. So
he's funny.
This is like, he's very funny, but it's like these are like the cool kids that like have their own stuff going on, and she's kind of like scooping them all up. And she also scooped up this Alix Earle Hot Mess podcast, and apparently the podcast wasn't a hot enough mess. Am I right?
Yeah. We don't have details, but it's like, oh,
no, it's so funny.
Her dad was unhappy with the contract and started getting too in the weeds. And then you have like weird, like secondhand reporting where it's like Alex Cooper, the Unwell Network, just finally dropped them. But I bet that all this is Alix Earle felt like she wasn't getting paid enough. She felt like she was not being given what she deserved, and she was like, I can make more money elsewhere, because Dave Portnoy is already like salivating trying to get her to come to Barstool.
I just feel like he's very soap opera. Everything is like another reason to be like, he runs off like Jerry Springer reality TV vibes, but he's like, he acts like it's this thing where you'd be reporting on the business, but what you're actually doing is just like playing into like this fake kind of build up to something. So I feel very like, I'm always very uncomfortable like reporting on his trolling, because I feel like it's always like promotion. It's very manipulative. So he's already teasing that he is going to scoop up this podcast because, you know, as you know, Alex Cooper used to be on Barstool. So like,
he lost
not that they're enemies,
girly.
but he lost his girly. So he's like, let me find my new girly to have a podcast. He also lost Grace O'Malley, because Grace O'Malley was like, Brianna Chicken Fry is like the Barstool girly now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. This is like such a dark place of girlies.
But even Sophia Franklin, who used to be a Barstool girly too, was the original Alex Cooper girly, isn't on Barstool. So he really needs a yapper woman.
Well, he didn't scoop her up. Notice, well, because he took Alex Cooper's side. So he didn't like, after Alex Cooper left, he wasn't going to go back to Sophia. No, he already like alienated her. This is just funny though, because like, I did laugh. Basically, there were rumors that they were having a quote falling out because the girls were in the same city for the Super Bowl and didn't hang out.
At the Super Bowl in New Orleans, yeah.
Lindsay and Bobby were both in Chicago and didn't meet up. You know,
They
it's like
didn't meet up at the Beam.
It's like, they were at the same party and I didn't see them talk at all. It's like, there's drama. That happened. And then there was, as you mentioned, which is very funny, Earl's dad, TJ, who you know what's funny about this? Earl's dad, TJ, is like our age. You know, like these men aren't, her dad isn't even that old. You know, like,
yeah.
Like she's...
Lindsay, we are both old enough to have children who are podcast influencers.
100%. In the episode
Adults.
titled Family, Finances, and Football, Earl said her dad was good at having, quote, hard conversations with people. And she mentioned this applied to, quote, every deal, particularly when people don't realize Alex's full potential of, quote, what she needs to be doing. A lot of people took this as a not so subtle nod to the Unwell Podcast Network. Okay, that is a stretch as hell. That's a stretch. That's stretchy. But then in Us Weekly, they were like, an insider reveals to us that Alex's dad, Thomas TJ Earle, played a role. Alex's dad got more involved in her business decisions and did not like what Unwell was doing. He ultimately thought ended up being not a smart business move. It's funny because they're acting like he isn't just her manager. So it's like he got involved because he's her
manager. Clearly, he's her manager. Yeah. And is reading the contract, scrutinizing them, and saying, you can get a better deal elsewhere, which is honestly probably true.
I will say Call Her Daddy had Monica Lewinsky on, and I'm very curious about that because I feel like there's kind of a dynamic that I'm very...
Oh, was that out?
Yeah. But isn't that an interesting kind of... So we're going to apply the Alex Cooper politics to the Monica Lewinsky story? Like, I have to see.
Oh, I have to listen to that, actually.
Doesn't that seem interesting? Like,
I have to listen to that. Speaking of, like, one of the OG yappers, Monica Lewinsky loves to talk.
I mean, she literally doesn't stop.
I love her, but she does love to talk.
You're going to feel so old. She starts the podcast being like telling the story of Monica Lewinsky. She's like, Daddygang, imagine if you're an intern and it's the best internship of your entire life. Like you are the number one intern in the world. No, I'm serious. Can you open it and just play it quickly? Because like, I think you might
Wait.
I think you might die of old age if you hear this.
Wait, how do I? Okay, here we go.
You're going to die of natural causes when you hear this. Daddygang, imagine you are an intern. You get the internship of a lifetime.
Daddygang, picture this. You just got one of the most prestigious internships in the country, and you feel like your career is about to take off. You're so excited to be working alongside your boss, who is without a doubt the most important person, and everyone loves and admires this man. One day, he starts to show you attention. He even begins to flirt with you.
She has the juice.
She has the juice.
Love her. I have to keep listening.
And you confide in your coworker, telling her everything about the relationship.
Linda.
But then one day, you're at the mall, and the FBI surrounds you. They know about you and your boss's relationship because your coworker secretly recorded your conversations and turned them over to the FBI.
Translating the Monica Lewinsky scandal for Gen Z is so fucking funny.
No, it's crazy.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, Ryan Murphy wishes he just did this instead of an entire show.
Instead of a show.
And then you're at the mall and the FBI shows up. Me. It's just an internship at New York Magazine.
The radio
what
station.
Did I do?
Didn't you intern at a radio station?
Oh, yeah. I've interned everywhere. I've interned everywhere, babe, except for the White House.
Daddygang, picture it. You're interning at a soft rock radio station in Boston, Massachusetts.
I told you I only went twice, right? And then I just never went back. I ghosted it.
The most classic you is only going twice.
Yeah, it's true. Anna and Alec was there, and then I said,
knew I was. God, the things I remember. It's like I knew it was a radio station, and I knew it was Anna and Alec.
Sorry, I never went back.
Oh my God, shut up.
Daddygang, picture this. You just got one of the most prestigious internships in the country, and you feel like your career is about to take off.
It's like, picture it. You know, like when a boss is like abusing their power and then the FBI shows up and it's like, yeah, that probably only happens with one particular internship and job.
And I will say, like, if you think we're taking this too lightly, do you understand how many times we've now heard this story? Like, I don't really like it. To me, it's like this has been drilled into our minds in every single angle that it could possibly drilled in. It's just incredible to hear Call Her Daddy like try and drill it in another way for like a new generation. Like, it's just it kind of makes you feel insane. Like it's giving go to school, you know? But then Monica shows up and you're like, she looks amazing. I'm sure the interview is like, she's really well spoken. She's now told this story 4,000 million times. It's like, it's perfect. It's perfect at this point.
Monica looks stunning.
I know. But she was so young. So it's like, it really is like, she's looked good since she kind of like became an adult.
She's only 51.
Yeah, she's young.
She's been dealing with this since like 1998.
I will say, like, we're kind of making fun of this like little podcaster feud or whatever, but Alex Cooper is kind of like slaying it over on Call Her Daddy, because we always are talking about, oh my God, Lady Gaga on Hot Ones, oh my God, Lady Gaga on no, I'm kidding. Oh my God,
Detector.
Right, but like also, you know, Chicken Shop, Harris Dickinson, like those are things that like but I also do feel like, even though it's a podcast and we kind of like look differently upon it, Monica Lewinsky on Call Her Daddy is an equal kind of, oh my God, that should be lauded, because it is a huge get.
Yeah. No, it's a huge get. God, the celebrities, some of the podcasts, we talk about bad podcasts all the time, but some of them are begrudgingly good, like Call Her Daddy. Some, like, I don't listen to it as a general rule, but like when I listen to it for like cultural moments, I'm always impressed by it.
No, I know she books. That's also what I'm just, you know, she books. She gets the girls.
Did you listen to, I don't know why I'm just thinking about this, but I finally listened to the full episode last night. Did you listen to like Usher on Keke Palmer's podcast? Incredible.
No, but I saw clips. It's really good.
It's incredible. Like, some of these girlies really do have it. I just feel like maybe we have to like, some of these podcasts are embarrassing, like Pod Meets World and Out of My Way Tanneritos or whatever it's called.
Well, it's almost like everything is called a podcast, but these are things on they're on many different levels. And also at this point, I see Call Her Daddy as not a podcast because I only see it visually. I only interact with it visually. I'm never listening to it as a podcast. I think as soon as something becomes a video interview show, it's a TV show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they call Hot Ones a TV show, like a production, a TV show.
Call Her Daddy is a TV show. Keke Palmer's podcast is a TV show.
It's just like, it's a TV show.
Yeah.
Whatever. Because you could listen to anything, but I'm just like, when it has a full production team. It's a TV show, whatever.
To go back to Alix with an I, if in fact her father / potential manager is the reason this happened, because he was like, this is a bad thing. I do think this was a smart move. Like, I think it's bad to be sort of second fiddle to someone as powerful as Alex Cooper. I don't think that that's good. I think she wants to go somewhere that she should be number one. And like, I hate Dave Portnoy and I hate Barstool, but I understand why you would be intrigued by like going somewhere where you are number one and not like a distant number two with someone who has your same name with a different letter.
Maybe it was just like it wasn't as different. It wasn't a different enough POV. It wasn't a different enough vibe or whatever. I do think Alex Cooper has really like transformed herself post getting married and like being like, my whole thing is like entrepreneurship and like being almost an interviewer, like asking questions versus being like giving advice about relationships. I think Alix Earle, who was supposed to be the girl who's like is like what Alex Cooper used to be like. I think she brought her on to be like,
unfiltered.
You are filling the gap of kind of like the hot mess of me. You're young, you're partying, you're da-da-da. Like, you're living this like ideal life that like girlies are jealous of. You're engaged to a football player, you're out here, whatever. I don't know. Maybe she just like didn't deliver. And she was like, also, I hate this girl, so let's drop her.
And also, I hate this girl. I think that's fundamental. And I want to hear this one more time before we switch topics.
Daddygang, picture this.
Yeah, thank you.
You just got one of the most prestigious internships in the country,
baby.
and you feel like your career is about to take off.
Daddygang, picture this.
Daddygang, picture this.
I would listen to Ken Burns style recountings of like important historical events. Daddygang, picture it. You're a ship in the Gulf of Tonkin. Like, you know, like.
Daddygang, picture it. You and your girlies just survived the bubonic plague.
It's incredible. Okay, next
No,
call.
I know.
God,
It's incredible.
We're podcast heavy today, but there's a lot of podcast news this week.
Sorry, we are a podcast covering podcast.
I want to be famous.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. Lindsay, this is actually so... I actually have to let her know that I'm doing this right now because she texted me 7 minutes ago, feeling compelled to tell you that I used the Who code to save on my Squarespace. Bless you.
Oh,
that's from our friend
God.
Kelly. Our friend Kelly just launched a Squarespace and said she used our code to get the discount because she knows that we're serious when we say Squarespace is so important. Our website will always be Squarespace. Truly.
Whether we have this ad or not, to be honest with you, like,
I don't know what else to tell you. It's great. We get contact forms. We can see where listeners are coming from. It's so easy to update everything on our website. It automatically feeds in the latest episode of the podcast. It does everything you want a website to do so easily, so easy to turn on and off pages. I don't know. You know how websites work, and Squarespace makes it impossible to mess up. So go to squarespace.com for a free trial, just like our friend did. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/who to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Get ready to play wherever you are. With Chumba Casino, the fun never stops. Dive into hundreds of exciting online social casino games like bingo, slots, and solitaire. It's completely free to play with no purchase necessary. Discover fresh new games every week and enjoy free daily login bonuses and welcome offers. Join today at ChumbaCasino.com and play for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited per law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
I love my Helix mattress. I went home for Christmas and I slept on a non-Helix mattress and I was miserable. I missed my mattress. I'm back on my mattress. I'm loving it. I never want to leave my house again. I wish all mattresses I sleep on for the rest of my life were Helixes.
Well, that's kind of possible if you convince everyone in your life who you visit to get a Helix mattress before you show up.
Also, when it's cold and you don't, when it's cold and you're so comfortable.
If you need to get out of bed in the winter on your Helix mattress, forget it. Cancel the plan. It's not happening.
You don't want to get out. I took my quiz. I got the perfect Helix. I love my Helix. We recommend Helix all the time to people on the podcast and to people in our real life who were like, do you really like Helix that much? And I'm like, yeah, I love my Helix. Buy a Helix. You won't regret it. So go to helixsleep.com/who for 27% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/who for 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/who.
I want to be famous.
Hi, BLT.
Carrie Coon and Tracy Letts have an open marriage. Dr. Cumgutters.
Dr. Cumgutters, Tracy Letts and Carrie Coon do not have an open marriage. They're just open-minded people. Daddygang, imagine you're talking to one of the most successful podcast hosts in the business, and you talk about how your marriage is open and free, but the internet interprets it as being an open marriage. What do you do?
No, see, it only works if it's something that happened 400 years ago.
Yeah. Daddygang, picture it. You're in the Bronze Age, and suddenly everything goes wrong. Carrie Coon, one of the all-time fucking greats.
Carrie Coon, one of the greats, absolutely already slaying it on White Lotus, on her way to being, I want to say, getting that kind of like Jennifer Coolidge being recognized for being like a slay legend. Although I think Parker Posey's
Parker Posey's getting the
general role.
Parker Posey's doing the like broader comic character acting. Carrie Coon's doing something way more internal.
I'm just thinking who's gonna get the kind of like broader audience like recognition. You know, that
Parker,
the kind of the move from being a niche gay icon to something bigger or like more recognized is what I guess I'm thinking that White Lotus does for people.
And I think what Parker Posey is getting in the White Lotus is an introduction to younger people who may not be familiar with her for her like prolific indie film work in the 90s and 2000s. And so I think people are going to say, who is this crazy mama? And then they're going to watch like Party Girl and Waiting for Guffman and be like, oh, she slays.
Carrie Coon is slaying in White Lotus. She goes on Mark Maron. Mark Maron's had kind of a funny run. Ariana Grande was just on Mark Maron. Mm-hmm. Mark is like,
I know you're a Mark Maron listener. I don't listen to him.
Babe, don't call me that. Let's not. Excuse me. I subscribe to the pod. When I see an interview that I want to listen to, that I find an interesting combo for Mark Maron, I listen. Like Ariana Grande, I said, this is going to be an interesting conversation. These two, I'm curious how they're going to speak, but I do not actively listen to Mark Maron. No.
Well, I guess what I mean by that is I don't even subscribe. I only listen to Mark Maron when you specifically tell me to listen to Mark Maron.
Well, I think there's a lot of shows that are interview based. As again, let's talk about Daddygang. Imagine this. You're scrolling your podcast app. No, I think there are a lot of interview based shows where it totally depends on who they're speaking to, whether I'll listen. And I want to know who's on the show. And then it can determine how I think, it's like, oh, I'm interested in this conversation. I'm interested in a conversation between Carrie Coon and Mark Maron. Daddygang, picture this. You're scrolling your podcast feed and you see that Mark Maron has spoken to none other than Carrie Coon. But to be fair, I didn't see this. I didn't see this I didn't listen to this. This I saw on Twitter.
You saw the tweets.
Yeah. It was somebody, who was it? I think it's a hooligan. Wait.
Tom Zohar, because he apologized to her on Twitter. I saw it.
Shout out to Tom Zohar for clipping this fascinating moment in the conversation between Carrie Coon and Mark Maron about her marriage to the legend Tracy Letts, where she kind of talks delicately around the logistics of their relationship, kind of, right? And I do think she spends a lot of this conversation calling him old, calling him an old guy. So I don't think that I think she's already kind of buttered the muffin to prep you to assume things about when you hear this conversation that Tom assumes when he tweets. Finding out Carrie Coon and Tracy Letts have an open marriage has been a really great way to start my week. Very straightforward.
She's 44, he's 59. They're 15 years apart.
I think my favorite thing about their relationship, she always, I love when she tweets what movie they're watching that night.
They're always watching a movie together, which I find so romantic.
I know you do. Of course you do. Okay. So in the podcast, you can play a clip, but like the main thing that I think she says is,
So it's nice to be in a relationship where we can always talk about like, well, who are you attracted to on set?
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, totally. It's so fun. I love it. He sees like, Tracy's the kind of person who sees like everybody on the street when he's walking and every woman. I mean, he notices every single woman on the street. And he always tells me like who he has a crush on or we love talking about it. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's interesting to know what your partner's into. We were supposed to have babies and die when we were like 30.
Yeah.
And that's not the way life is anymore. And so I think you have to kind of be open-minded about what makes you feel, what engages you in the world and what sparks your imagination and where your passion is. And I think if you're willing to stay open to that, then you're living a more full life.
But after this clip goes viral where someone claims that she's admitted to being in an open relationship, she quote tweeted the podcast link and said, "Settle down, internet. I said open-minded, not open. Crying laughing face emoji, heart emoji, monkey hear no evil, monkey see no evil, monkey speak no evil."
Okay, that's like literally like White Lotus spawn, by the way.
Yeah.
I have to say, I trust Carrie Coon to, put out there what she wants to put out there about her own relationship. But I'm like, what she is describing, it's not an unfair assumption to make. It's not an unfair thing to call it.
No. And
She's basically saying, no. She says monogamy is something we've imposed on ourselves. And then she says, I don't think either one of us would want to keep the other from living.
Mm-hmm. But we are currently keeping the other from living.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right. So what you're saying is you are keeping the other. You are.
We communicate we're not jealous, but we're not necessarily fucking other people. Yeah. Like, I know who Tracy Letts wants to fuck because he won't shut up about it, but he's not necessarily out there fucking all these other women.
But I'm also like, so you're fucking the same person. Like, what? This must translate to something else, right? Like, so, okay, like.
It's funny, like, the interpretation could be like, we're not in an open marriage, but we do have a third and a fourth and a fifth, and they're part of our closed circle.
Right, that's what, right.
Carrie Coon, though, still a who? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I don't think she'd want it any other way.
Because I think she's sort of like, I've been like chugging away on HBO for a very long time, and theater, obviously.
But she's still chugging away on HBO, which is funny.
I mean, I think to me, this is, again, like she has the perfect acting career right now. People respect her. She's constantly working.
I agree.
She's not so famous that it's being annoying.
This is how I felt about Charlie XCX before Brad. Like, this is I said, you're respected. You have a niche community of fans. You're able to make money and work. You're able to go to the bar. You're able to get a drink bought for you by someone who's going to give you a little wink and a little love your work. You're not going to be bothered. It's delightful to live this way, I think.
Mm-hmm. But a result of this is that a viral tweet goes very viral, and you have to sort of like you have to sort of correct people in a way that maybe you're not used to correcting them because you're not used to that type of attention.
Right. Question: would like 5 years ago anyone care that Mark Maron, this conversation on Mark Maron?
No.
Probably not. But then would Mark Maron have would have had Carrie Coon on his podcast? Maybe not too.
White Lotus was a turning point for her. I think that,
is a turning point.
The
for
locals really started discovering her during White Lotus, for sure.
The locals. They've already started. I also think it depends on where the plot goes. I think she's got a juicy part. I think
when she starts
they're
fucking
setting
that
her
guy,
up
yeah,
to have a juicier part. And I think, okay, I don't want to put spoilers in here. I don't know anything. I'd just be guessing. But I think she's gonna fuck that sexy wellness guy, and I think that sexy wellness guy is part of a bigger conspiracy with the motorcycle guy.
I don't think that you're wrong.
Okay. That's not spoilers because it's just like things that are happening on the show currently. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, we can move on. We can skip that and just go to Will and Jada because the headline is so funny.
We keep on cutting her. I feel like I just need to give up on her. Yeah.
Yeah. Rose Gray. Sorry. You're cut again, Rose Gray. Sorry to this Harris Dickinson.
Rose Gray is the new Alexandra Daddario of this podcast.
Oh my God. You're so right.
Rose Gray, I'll see you when I see you.
Will Smith blasted for inappropriate act with female singer amid Jada Pinkett union. This might be the most hilarious use of the amid subject line, only because his union with Jada Pinkett is a permanent situation. Anyways, please discuss. Crunch, crunch.
This call didn't quote the best headline about this, which I saw in my People newsletter yesterday and then instantly clicked and read, which was Will Smith appears to kiss duet partner India Martínez and fans wonder what wife Jada will think.
I'm sorry. If you know anything about Will Smith and Jada, I just feel like anyone with a 102, let's say you're in this, you really would have to be in the second class.
You're taking it as an elective. You're like, oh, I want to know more.
Yes. 101 is basic. Will Smith, Men in Black, blah, blah, Jada Pinkett Smith, the Matrix, whatever. 102, you know that Jada Pinkett Smith does not give a fucking shit what Will Smith does with other women in any way. They have so much other shit to deal. They've written books on this now. I mean, are we any clearer about their relationship? What's going on? No.
Well,
but
no, they've written around it in books.
But we know, much like Carrie Coon on the Mark Maron podcast, we know that something's going on where they don't give a fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny to frame Will Smith's marriage with Jada as fans wonder what wife will think, as if they're fucking June Cleaver in some sort of like trad relationship. All the number one thing about Will Smith and Jada is that we know that whatever they've got going on, it is not in the realm of
trad.
Traditional.
No.
Not at all.
They will
not
not define it for us in like kind of satisfactory ways, but they will say like, what we have works for us and that's okay. And it's like, okay, fine. I believe it. And it clearly does.
I guess it's like now we're in the era of Will Smith getting in trouble for stuff. Like we're still kind of stuck on the slop. So it's kind of like, oh, we're calling him out for other things. Like he's like he has a reputational thing right now that is very, right? Like he's stuck a little.
He was probably always going to return to music in some form because he clearly always liked it. That's how he got started. But he keeps doing it. And for years, he's just doing it more and more. And so you'll see, like you go to his TikTok, you go to his Spotify, like he's releasing a lot of music.
I keep noticing that, but for such a big star, it's like on the peripheral. It's really strange.
Part of me is like, when I listen to Will Smith's like current music, I'm like, is there some bubble where this is playing everywhere? Like, if I go to like a very specific type of club in like Europe, is Will Smith music released from 2022 on like really popular? And I feel like maybe the answer is yes.
Right. Is Will Smith like, is this more of an international play to kind of come back around through the back door in a weird way? You know, on his Instagram, he has a thing where he's on some podcast, Marcin Music. Okay. 3 million followers. This guy's an international pop star, right? I've never heard of him, but I'm sure he's huge. He's playing like flamenco guitar, you know, where it's like high up. Okay. So he has Will Smith on his podcast, and guess what they're doing? There's a clip on Will Smith's Instagram. They're singing Just the Two of Us. Okay. So Will Smith's legacy is, you know, these huge songs. So he's going this route where he's like doing nostalgia stuff with huge international stars, almost like Jessie J going to China, but kind of this other way of doing it, where he is capitalizing on the fact that his legacy is so immense that like his body of work remains quite alive in other countries as well. Like in America, we're always looking for the next thing. We're like, oh, you're flopping, da da da. But I feel like as soon as you go to a different country, they're like, just the two of us, getting jiggy with it. They, you know, they're. Do you know what I mean? There's something.
Can you sign my copy of Big Willie Style?
There's just something. I think there's such a delight to have you there, which we've talked about before. It's like the fact that you're there, and you're like, oh my God, Will Smith is in Turkey.
Well, that's part of the appeal of Brazil, right? It's like
yes.
Brazil is a great example of this because Brazilian fans, they're not like top of the list of places that celebrities might go on their tour, and so when they do go there, Brazil fans are extremely appreciative and they love it. They love to be acknowledged and recognized, and I think that that's true of a lot of places.
It's like when you recognize them, there's such a baseline excitement there that it kind of doesn't matter what else you do. Marcin, or whatever his name is. He's anonymous. He's a Polish percussive fingerstyle guitarist, composer, and producer.
Oh my God.
3 million followers. Huge star. Polish. I can't. 24-year-olds. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
To go back to this
he was on America's Got
non-controversy
Talent.
that's happening.
Okay, I love to find a new star. Yeah.
He's currently promoting a brand new song that came out last week called First Love. And India Martínez is a Spanish singer who's like a pop star in Spain, and they performed this song.
Oh, guess who also performed with them? This flamenco guitarist, Marcin. Do you see Will Smith? India Martínez,
that's
Marcin.
okay. So that's Marcin. Okay.
Yeah, Marcin. I don't know. It's Polish.
This song, which is like totally fine, whatever. It's weird to like Will's got kind of a new like rap style going on, which is really interesting. Like, have you heard this song? It's not the Will Smith that you're used to. It's like it's a more contemporary rap style, which is like really intriguing to me. That like he's actually like he's trying new things, which is weird. Anyway,
well, Will Smith kind of embodies like the old school hip hop, because I think people often make fun of that style of hip hop where it's like we're going to the party, we're at the party, we're having a party, like grab your friend, we're dancing at the party. Like it feels very PG, and I think that's something that I wonder if that's what we're doing here, kind of in a way.
Listen to his verses in this.
I want that first love, you know, that first time. I want them first eyes, I want that first high. I want that first passion, I want them first hugs. I want them hard cries, I want that first love. I want that first love, you know, that first smile. You know, that first chuckle, I want that first wow.
Okay, but he's still freaking PG.
Yeah.
It's still freaking the most PG rhymes, yeah.
They're promoting the song. He has it on his YouTube. She has it on her YouTube. They performed at these like Univision Awards in Miami. And during this performance, it's clearly choreographed. They lean in for a smooch and she sort of rejects him. But if you take a screenshot at the right moment, it looks like they're almost kissing, which leads to an insane headline of Will Smith appears to be kissing duet partner India Martínez, and fans wonder what wife Jada will think.
Very misleading headline. A very misleading headline. Don't appreciate this.
The answer is fully no, they didn't kiss. And it's clear if you watch the video, they didn't kiss. Despite that, people reached out to them and said, did they kiss? And then they said they didn't kiss.
Also, the idea that People is acting like they had to reach out and confirm in a journalistic way that the kiss was part of a performance, when I am watching the performance actively and can tell that as part of the performance, they lean into kiss and then they don't kiss. Like, give me a fucking break with this. I truly give me a break.
This is exactly what Will wants. He wants misunderstandings. He wants to titillate the audience and make them talk about his marriage more, despite his protestations. I think that this is exactly what he wants.
Hello?
Hello? Are you bitch? They're taking their underwear off in the jacuzzi. Are you dumb?
Hello, were you not alive for Meghan Trainor and Charlie Puth kissing after their performance of that
No,
song?
that killed me. It stopped my heart for a second and I had to be
One
brought
of the
to a
most
defibrillator.
iconic things ever. Yeah, sorry. Okay, some of us remember. Some of us were there.
If it's not the slap, I think Will Smith loves talking about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think at this point, he was probably really upset when the news of his marriage's like non-traditional aspects went viral. Remember when he was on Red Table Talk and he was really upset? That seemed very genuine. I think at this point, post-slap, anything that's vaguely positive, which is like, oh, Will Smith is being sexy with another woman, is good news in his eyes. Like, this is good press. I didn't hear about this song until I heard about the pseudo kiss. He's doing so much promo for this song on his TikTok. You have to believe that he wanted this. I'm just like, did they pay for fans to like comment on the Instagrams and rile people up? You know, like,
no, I don't think so. I think there's enough attention on Will Smith and what he does because he's such a big name. He's an A-lister, so it's I just don't think that that's, you know, whatever. India Martínez, on the other hand, not an A-lister. All these kind of international stars are kind of getting dragged along for the ride.
she's not an A-lister here. She's very famous in Spain. She's been famous in Spain for like 15 years.
It is funny because 1, this isn't true. 2, it's very obvious it's not true if you watch the full video. But 3, the idea that Jada Pinkett Smith would care is the funniest thing about this. The idea that she would give a shit or is even watching this performance is hilarious to me.
Yeah, she doesn't know what's happening.
Jada's
She's still
like,
with what's his name? What was his name? August Alsina?
August
Am I
Alsina.
right?
Yeah. Remember that song?
Oh, God,
Will
don't
should
remind me
cover
of
that song. Will should cover his song.
No, that's fun. If you haven't paid attention, if you haven't noticed, he also has a song for the most recent Bad Boys movie, but it's like, he is like releasing music. He is like locked back into the music world, and it's like really interesting.
Do you think he's doing that because like the acting thing is he really got a ding for the slap? Like he really is.
I think he really got a ding.
Really?
Yeah.
He really got a ding.
Like, even though you can't deny that, like, he's still making huge movies. Like, the last 2 Bad Boys movies, again, to bring them up again, were humongous hits. So, like, but those were established franchises where he's, like, part of an ensemble that people love. Like, Emancipation wasn't a big hit.
But there's something he's still kind of in Time Out. He's still kind of in the Bad Boys. I don't even mean that. He's kind of in Time Out. He is. He's kind of put aside right now.
I think he is. And notice what was his biggest like awards moment in the past couple of years, not counting this like place where he kissed or almost kissed India Martínez. He gave that really long speech at the Grammys where the Quincy Jones speech. Like, he's really leaning into music and his past in music right now, which is like, I didn't really see that coming after the slap happened.
No, and he's going abroad where they don't care that he slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
All they remember is, you know, getting jiggy with it. And they love it. They love him.
Right,
they love it.
Okay, let's take some final calls.
Hi, Weekly.
I have a question because we just got to Providence, Rhode Island, and we're trying to figure out the most famous people from Rhode Island, and we need you to rank them from who to them. So the top, I think it's 7, are Meredith Vieira, Harry Anderson, H.P. Lovecraft, Mina Suvari, Olivia Culpo, Pauly D, and Viola Davis. I feel like the top is easy, but the bottom is hard. Okay. Lindsay Podcaster, thank you. Bye.
Okay, nice spread of most famous people from Rhode Island here. Do not get the famous birthdays out of here. I don't need to see that Aiden Tift and Nick DiGiovanni and Javik.
Okay,
and
but
PVD
Mina
Biggie.
Silvari is number 24 and Blue Cantrell is number 21. Just saying. Okay, so this is a spread of people who are from Rhode Island.
I like this spread. Meredith Vieira, Harry Anderson, H.P. Lovecraft, Mina Suvari, Olivia Culpo, Pauly D, and Viola Davis.
This doesn't feel, but this is not definitive. This is just this caller's kind of like suggestion to us. Who the fuck is Harry Anderson?
Harry Anderson is that like comedian?
Yeah, I see. Okay.
He was on that show Dave's World that my parents liked in the 90s.
It was a sitcom. That's the, okay, wow, that's going to, actually I can't go there because it's sad. But that's, I was wondering about Dave's World because the guitarist or the lead singer, I forget, from Foster the People dated Michelle Trachtenberg, and he posted on his Instagram, don't ask how I got here, like this long tribute to her that was like, when I was on Dave's World, I used to be a child star. When I was on Dave's World, she was a guest star, and she was my first girlfriend. His name's Zane Carney, and she was so lovely. And I'm like, what is Dave? And then I just kept thinking, what's Dave's World? And it was Dave Barry, right?
It was a show based on like Dave Barry's memoirs.
Yeah.
And the song, and it opened with "You may be right."
Yeah, that's okay.
I like this show a lot.
Well, it was just funny. Instead of being sad, I was like briefly sad about this remembrance, but then I just immediately was like, "What the fuck was Dave's World? Why do I remember that?" Okay, sorry. Back to Rhode Island, I guess.
Anyway, Harry Anderson is even hooier than Olivia Culpo. I'm sorry.
And Pauly D and Olivia Culpo are kind of little equally hooey because they just exist in the same kind of world. Maybe Pauly D. And then Viola Davis is further up. Yeah, for sure. Higher up than Mina Silvari.
Is H.P. Lovecraft themier than Viola Davis? I think so.
No, I think he's under her.
You think H.P. Lovecraft is under Viola Davis? Okay.
Yeah, but higher than Meredith Vieira. Do you think that Mina Silvari is higher than Pauly D and Olivia Culpo?
No, I think Pauly D is higher than Mina Suvari.
Okay. You think... So Mina Suvari is in between Pauly D and Olivia Culpo. What's funny to me is about all these people, the only person I know is from Rhode Island is Olivia Culpo, just because that's kind of one of her main things. That
It's
she's
her
from
main
Rhode
thing.
Island, and it's
a restaurant family from Rhode Island.
Right, like that's all that I know is that they have a restaurant in Rhode Island. And I guess Pauly D, I kind of knew that a little bit because it's like the funny thing is that he's like not a Guido from New York. He's kind of just like from Rhode Island.
Is Pauly D themier than Mina Suvari and Olivia Culpo? God, Mina Suvari may be themier than Pauly D. Maybe I was being a little rude to Mina Suvari.
Do you think so though? No, I think he's not.
That's correct.
Hooier in a sense where Pauly D is a reality star, so he's like hooey in his
That's
nature.
what I mean.
And Mina is just not. Mina is just like not hooey at all.
That's what I mean. On the who them spectrum, Pauly D is still like has always been a who. That's who he is. Mina Suvari at one point was a them, kind of close.
Yeah, she's got 12 projects, none of which I've heard of are coming up. So she kind of is living in a who world though currently.
She's living in a who world, but Pauly D is living in the more like typical who world. From who to them? Harry Anderson, Olivia Culpo, Pauly D, Mina Suvari, Meredith Vieira, H.P. Lovecraft, Viola Davis.
I think Mina, yeah, okay. I think the Mina Pauly thing is still controversial to me, but sure. Shout out to Harry Anderson and the iconic sitcom Dave's World. Anyone?
He was also on Night Court.
Dave's
which I
World.
didn't watch, but
a show based on the writings and life of Dave Barry. Again, these are such like forgotten things.
They are forgotten things.
Such forgotten things.
It's a forgotten TV show. We're done. If you want more Who Weekly literally today, subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/whoweekly or subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Just click the subscribe button within the app and for the audio only of the Patreon, and you will get our bonus a little bit early Oscars preview episode where we have our non-expert opinions and our chatter about the menu and our chatter about like all sorts of Oscar related stuff. The episode is great. You can get a ballot, menus, a lot of other stuff on Patreon.
We also put out an iconic, exclusive, and custom Who Weekly Oscar ballot with our picks in the margins for you to win your pool with. That is free to everyone, and it's on Patreon. So if you want to go check it out and just see what our Patreon's like, that is a free gift to you. So enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you to Katie and Eric of The Who's for providing our Read It theme song on Tuesdays. Thank you to Timmy, our research and editorial assistant, for researching and editorializing. We will see you on Tuesday, and we'll see the subscribers today. So have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Hey. Hey.
Daddygang, picture this.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. I'm just listening to the Friday show where Lindsay's talking about how it's rude to interrupt celebrities at dinner, no matter what, which I'm going to agree with, especially because of this story I have about my dad, who is from Cape Town. And when he was younger, not young, but younger, he would often get mistaken for Jeremy Irons. And he was having dinner in Cape Town with his mom and I think brother. And this group of people came up to him and was saying, oh, we love your work and all of these things. And he kept trying to tell them that he wasn't who they thought he was. And they didn't believe him. And so kind of kept pestering him. And he was like, I'm just trying to have dinner with my mom. But yeah, my dad has a long history of not being believed that he's not a celebrity. Now that he's older, he has had someone take a picture with him thinking that he was Christopher Lloyd, even though, again, he tried to tell them that he was not. But yeah, that's also his journey, Jeremy Irons to Christopher Lloyd. What a journey. All right. I'm going to bed. Crunch, crunch. Bye.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. I'm calling in regards to LGBTQ. My husband is bisexual, and we live right between two coffee shops. And one coffee shop he hates, and one he loves. And I was asking him, why? Why do you hate one and you like the other one? And he's like, oh, because of the one that I hate, all of the baristas are bro-y. They're all straight. And at the one that he loves, all of the baristas are gay. So, yeah, I think that you're onto something there. Anyway, crunch, crunch.
7 Rings had 10 writers. Alec Baldwin has 8 children. I feel so bad that he just keeps saying, I have 7 kids. You guys even said he has 7 kids. Ireland must be, in a lot of therapy. Crunch, crunch.
I am dying at you guys calling the South Beach Wine and Food Festival Soapy Wolf. I work on some advertising for it, and we internally call it Soapy Whiff. So, there you go. Crunch, crunch.
Hey, BLT. It is my annual call from the Cleveland Airport where I share with you guys that I walk underneath the motivational banner of the gay mountain climber. Crunch, crunch.
Hey, BLT. I guess this is only for Lindsay. Lindsay, I really appreciate how much you love the Bean. That's it. The Bean is genuinely cool. As a person who lives in Chicago, it is so fun when people visit and want to go see it, because I want to go see it too. It's so good, and I really love that you enjoyed it. Anyway, crunch, crunch. Yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby. I had to pause the pod because fuck the Bean. Bobby, how dare you? Crunch, crunch.